Like Gavroche climbing the barricade and saying bugger, this is the discriminating gamer. A few weeks ago on my Board Game Breakfast segment, I pondered the possibilities and the potential perils of apps in board games. Well, today I'm going to take a look at one board game that includes an app and integrates it into gameplay. I am, of course, talking about the tactical miniatures tabletop game, Golem Arcana. Golem Arcana, two sides take on different factions. You have various monsters, golems, that have various abilities in the game. Now what's going to happen is, as soon as you get the game, you're going to set up an app on a smartphone or on a tablet. You're going to have to sync a stylus with the app in order to make sure it works both on the game and in the app. Now you have various cards that list the various units you have on the board. Some of them can fly, some of them can walk, and they have certain point values for what they can do, and then of course the range they can move. They also have attacks. They have melee attacks, meaning you have to be in the same square to use them, and then you of course have ranged attacks you can use from several squares away. Now what you're going to do on your turn is you're going to select your unit. You can either tap on the golem on the board or you can tap on the card. To walk it, then you tap the space you want to walk to. The app is going to ask you to confirm. You confirm. In the app, it moves the character and then you physically move the character on the board. Then what's going to happen when you attack, you can choose from several different melee attacks or ranged attacks. Melee attacks, of course, you have to be in the same square. Ranged attacks, you can attack from several spaces away. Once you select the specific attack, you go ahead and you pick your target. You can either click on the base of the target or on the target's card, and then it's going to give you a possible number you've got to hit at or below. Now, you can just do this in the app. You can essentially roll virtual dice in the app that will give you a number, and it will tell you if you hit and how much damage you did or if you missed. Or you can actually roll some percentage dice and then enter those in manually on a little control card there. Now, every action you take in the game costs you points, and you have a set number of action points every round. So when you walk, when you use attacks, you're burning those action points. And using attacks isn't always static. The action point cost on the card is just the base cost. What's going to happen is if you use that once in a turn, you usually have to wait another couple of turns in order for it to get back down to that cost, because the cost level will actually increase if you use it a lot, and it has to cool down. So that's really cool too. It makes you kind of budget how you use your attacks in the game. Now, if you don't use some of your action points, you convert that to mana. Some of the scenarios require you to actually occupy certain spots to get more mana. Now, mana allows you to do special attacks and to get more powerful. And in some of the scenarios, you're going to select kind of what attacks you can do with the mana, and then throughout the game, as you get that mana, you can spend it to do some of these really, really powerful attacks, and that's important too. Victory conditions vary with scenarios. Some scenarios are just kind of kill everybody. Some are trying to get to the most points, and you can get to points by killing units, or you can get to points by occupying, as I say, certain areas on the board. That is essentially how Golem Arcana is played. Now, there's a lot more to it, but that's just a basic overview. So, what do I think of Golem Arcana? Is the app just a gimmick, or does it bring something really new and exciting to the tabletop? Well, I recently sat down with my friend Justin. We played several games, and our conclusions, frankly, were a bit surprising. And they're surprising because, I'll tell you this. Going into this, I wasn't sure what to think. Like I said with my Board Game Breakfast segment, I was concerned. I was cautiously optimistic. But there's that part of me that's just saying it's a gimmick. An app in a board game is a gimmick. And what I said in that segment was I wanted to see apps do bookkeeping. I thought it'd be fun if that was their primary role, is doing bookkeeping. And that's really kind of what the app does here. It factors in terrain and various other factors on the board and with the units, and it gives you that. And one of the really cool things too is there's a lot of games where line of sight's always an issue. You don't have to worry about line of sight with this app. It tells you can't do that. It's out of range. It's out of line of sight. So it takes care of that stuff too, and that's pretty cool. I found that when I played, I just enjoyed doing the virtual dice rather than rolling dice and putting it in. I just had more fun with it. I thought that worked better. And all told, at the end of the day, what I found is I really like Golem Arcana. I think it works. I think the app is more than just a gimmick. I think it's really a cool blending. On one hand, it's a board game, but it almost feels like you're playing a video game, and it really feels like it meshes the two quite well. I was surprised at how much I like this. Now, if I have one complaint, and I don't even know that it's really a complaint, it's more of an observation here, that is that the base game of Golem Arcana comes with 6 figures. 2 different factions, 3 figures each. And you can build armies of so many points with them, but, Golem Arcana kind of has the same problem as something like X-Wing miniatures. The core set isn't enough. You want to build armies, you want to experiment. Now, I haven't played with more. I've just played with the core set, but I can tell you right now, I'm probably going to invest in a few more sets, just because this is a game that I think is begging, that is screaming for more bigger armies, for more options. And I think it'll do it quite well. I'm pretty optimistic. So the core set is a start, but bear in mind, if you're going to get into this, you're probably going to have to pick up more than just the core set. So bear that in mind. Now, there were a few times, I must admit, I did have some bug issues with the app. I'm not convinced that's the fault of the game. I think maybe I was screwing up a little bit. I'm not sure. But there were some of those issues that were a little frustrated in some of the games I played. But generally speaking, it worked well. I liked it. I thought Golem Arcana really brought something fun, new, and interesting to the tabletop. So the recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Golem Arcana is buy it. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment here on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, on our website, thediscriminatinggamer.com. And please like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. We are The Discriminating Gamer. Can you hear the meeple sing?
It's not easy being a genius. It's not easy being a super evil genius. Whoa, 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 you don't know how I feel. So you must be killed because you're not an evil genius like me.
And me, Count Dracula!
My fangs fell out when I said me.